get 5 more ways, 5 more practical exercises to help you end overwhelm, lift your spirits, and find your joy and hope again as a creative. So my name is Marisha Trembetska, and this is for my Love Your Creativity and Make Money podcast. And the reason I ended up making this series is a 4-parter with 5 different exercises on each one is because a fabulous human I know who is in Edinburgh or in Scotland had posted how they're feeling particularly down and life is very difficult. Now we're in September and lockdown. And I just thought, how can I respond beyond obviously contacting them? And so this was my kind of way of hopefully helping all of you, and hopefully one of these exercises will help. It's hard right now. There's no theatre, there's no gigs. Whether you're an audience member or the performer or a creative in that, wherever you are in that pathway, we're all missing kind of each other and the community and the struggle. And obviously I know lots of people are in real danger of losing homes and maybe their day jobs and everything else. It's hard, but this is not a podcast about how hard it is. This is a podcast about some exercises you can try to lift your spirits so every day you can keep pushing forward. When you have grit, as in persistence, willingness to keep on going no matter what, which is what you need now, all the science shows it's the single biggest success factor, that grit. How do you get it? You keep moving forward. So these are all exercises for that. And I'm going to start. So exercise number 11 is tackle one hard thing, one small bite at a time. But do you have a real life problem you are hiding from? Or have you tried kind of dealing with it and it's just not that solvable? Now, the way to win with all of these things, particularly when I've got a gazillion examples, but if you can first win, first spiritually, in a kind of, I've got this and I'm going to get through this. And then emotionally, because really hard challenges, particularly if they're kind of external to do with, money in society and maybe your bank balance or whatever else, there's sometimes not very easy answers and you're kind of a bit broken in your heart, and that's not an easy place to come from when you're trying to create. And I certainly do not buy into the drama of impoverished artists. I am going to be doing, after I've finished this series of 4, I'm going to do what looks like an 8-part series of finance as a creative, because it's something I know about. So number 11, as I said, that's why I just want you to look at the thing that you're finding really difficult right now and ask, what is the singular next step I can take? So while you could argue finding your joy again as a creative is not by doing that, I tell you what, if you are fighting the fight you need to do to move something forward or resolve something, maybe you have to move out of somewhere or whatever, or you realise the situation you're in is not healthy for you, then the single quickest way to hope in your heart again is just tackling it, at least knowing you found the strength in yourself to at least move it forward. It might be calling the relevant company, it might be asking friends for help or legal advice, going to Citizens Advice Bureau, maybe you're trying to get another source of income. Tough times are happening right now, but all we can ever do is do our best every day, but asking what's next, what's the next singular step you can take to solve this helps. Now, I did a podcast actually called What's Next on creating your projects, but the question's still valid, so feel free to go back and listen to that. It's an idea, it's a product management idea, actually. David Allen's written a huge weighty tome about it, but it really helps. But the question, what's next? Ask the singular what's next and then action that. Oh, do you need to write a new CV? Do you need to go and speak to somebody about a reference? Devise a plan with tiny actionable steps and follow it. I actually did a podcast as well a few weeks ago about gamifying your life. If necessary, put your superhero cape on when you have to call your energy company or whatever it is you've got to do. But get the energy and get support, get friends to help you. You don't have to do this alone, but you're going to start feeling hopeless and fierce. Just stand up and go, right, I'm going to get it done again, okay? And I do know what I'm talking about this because I'm currently battling an ongoing issue with Scottish Power, who did not give me a bill for a couple of years. And then the gas meter died. And over a year ago, I was promised a gas meter and they froze my bill. And we're now 13 months later, still don't have a gas meter. And I paid them random goodwill payments because I know I need to pay for my electricity and gas. It's not like I'm not trying to pay. but they haven't acknowledged that in the fact that, and I still don't have a gas meter. And the ombudsman, I got the energy ombudsman, who, if you're listening from outside the UK, I got them involved, and they ruled in my favour and said, yeah, she's clearly done her best, and you need to give her a gas meter, and then you need to be out, because I can't move, because, and oh my goodness, have they not? And I know I've opened a new case because they haven't resolved the last one, and it's just frustrating as anything. And the lucky thing for me is I've been putting money away every month, so that when the final bill comes, I've got to pay. At least I've got lots of it, because I do that. I save in bits where I can as I go, and I'll talk about that later when I do my finance thing. But so it's not just a stress of a massive bill, because a lot of it I've already got saved, if not all of it. It depends what random figures they're going to come up with for this gas. But it's just the fact that it's just a fight, and you're like, I hate paperwork like that. But yet you got to do it. Right, so that was number 11, which was tackle one hard thing, one small bite at a time. Number 12, go to an exhibition. Now, if you can go physically, I would really encourage you rather than going online. But I would go to an exhibition and just enjoy seeing and learning about what it is that the curator has put together. Because seeing objects that people have used or created, maybe seeing letters they've written, seeing photos of their lovers, it's tremendously empowering and connecting, and you really feel you can reach back in time and have a look. And I will never forget, I was doing research for my sexual politics show, Queen of the Fucking World, and I went to see the Emma Hamilton exhibition at the National Maritime Museum in Greenwich, London. And it had a fabulous tagline, something like spy, celebrity, muse, and Lord Nelson's lover. Now, I don't know if you know anything about Emma Hamilton, but the very short and sharp version is she was born so poor that she came to London when she was about 12. She therefore kind of had to become a prostitute and she was very charming and obviously beautiful. She was then kept by someone, and then she got pregnant. And then someone else said, oh, I will start looking after you as long as you give your child to your mother and never see the child again, which she did. She then fell in love with this man, and she was so fabulous that everybody loved her already then in London. And then he basically said he had to marry someone wealthy. So he basically suggested she went on a trip to visit his uncle in Venice. And she went there, and then she realised when she got there, it wasn't just a trip. He'd basically given her over. And there's letters of her so hysterical, thinking this man had loved her, and she was going on a trip to Venice. And actually, she's like, he's passed her over like a eBay thing. And there's a letter from the uncle going, I'm so excited that Emma's coming over. It's a bit, ugh. But Emma, because she was just an incredible woman, she buckled down. She ended up learning to speak many languages. She created an entire art form, like a cabaret kind of, like you dance and pose. He became her husband at one point. Her and Lord Hamilton became the couple to see as people toured the world on their grand tours. So at one point she was seen as Europe's most painted lady, because all these famous artists would paint her in Venice. And her husband, who was obviously he was a lord, he collected antiquities, and he was very, very educated. So she became like the muse to so many people. She then also was so connected. And Lord Nelson came over to Italy, didn't speak English, and so she became a translator. They became lovers, and she was absolutely destroyed by the English press because he was already married, and so was she. And he died, and he basically, one of his last words, which have been completely misquoted, were about look after Emma, and they had a daughter. She got completely screwed over by the English crown, who was so celebrating Lord Nelson, the hero, that she didn't. You know, can remember, I saw this and I remember everything. It's years ago. I was only there for 2 hours. She was just incredible. The crown gave the wife and the brother of Nelson money, but nothing to her and the daughter. She was allowed to stay in that house, but she couldn't keep it up. She ended up in a debtor's prison and died in a debtor's prison, even though she still had fabulous people visiting her. But to see the love letters that Lord Nelson wrote her, to see the jewellery, to see her letters when she was younger, my goodness, to see pictures of her creating this dance, some of this artwork. But when you can see and feel, so that's why I'd always encourage you, if you can, to go to an exhibition. But look at how people that you are interested in lived. And if you can't do it online, go and look at every piece of art. Just really get into this kind of idea that we are all, I mean, she was an artist and she struggled, but I'm trusting, touch wood, I'm touching my head, that I'm not going to end up in debtor's prison. I'm pretty sure I won't, actually, because I say. But anyway, so that was number 12. Go to an exhibition and see what you can kind of dream and learn about. It's just inspirational. And if you then want to go and read a biography of hers or whoever's, then go out there and find some more. But I think an exhibition is a really good start to it. And it might be a, exhibition or gallery curation. Okay, so let me have some water. Next one. Number 13, my favourite number. Exercise number 13 is something I use, and I actually wrote a podcast about this about 6 weeks ago when I tried, and I've got to say I've seen some really cool results. It is this junk or is this joy? So hashtag junk or joy is a 100-day challenge to yourself where you look at your habits, your thoughts, your actions, and you decide in the moment, not with guilt and shame, but you decide and you ask yourself, is this junk or is this joy? I often go on a morning walk, and if I have dark thoughts come in, or negative ones, the inner critic, or thoughts of maybe people who haven't treated me the way I like to think I should have been, then I just say, is this junk, to myself, quietly, actually in my head, rather than freaking everyone out in Camden. I ask, is this junk or is this joy? Is this a thought that's going to lead me to joy and empowerment and happiness? Or is this a junky thought that's just going to get me into a negative spiral about thinking, if I'd have said this and she'd have said that or he'd have said that? It doesn't help, right? And it's okay to have the negative and the anger come up, but to dwell in it and let yourself drag yourself down the spiral of emotion is not helpful. So when you are equally in the middle of a challenge, so I've been kind of creating all the tech for my DJ Singing Psychic radio show, because I don't have the equipment at home that I'd use, and what I'm trying to do tech-wise is a bit more complicated than just a couple of decks and a mic, and also my ambitions for the show, because I don't know what it looks like. There's been lots of challenges, and I could have a complete hissy fit about this and that, and I keep thinking, if I think I know I'm going to find a way through this, because I somehow always do, because I'm really good at figuring things out. There's always a way, I've realised. Then, therefore, it brings my heart out. So junk or joy, exercise is obviously one. We all know in the moment it's like, oh my God, but the joy we feel afterwards, rather than the junky feel, and we also eat better if we train. So just look at where, and don't be judgmental. Just to say, is this junk? If I'm complaining about this situation or this person or myself or my life, does this help me move my life forward? Is it junk or joy? And if it, move on. There is a podcast about it, so I've got a couple of people actually been really trying and saying it helped. And I've certainly shifted some habits and stuff since I've really started asking that. So that was number 13. Exercise number 14 is, here we are, chanting or meditation. Now, we all have different spiritual practices that we're born into families that believe in certain spirituality. We might be part of different ways, and I am certainly not one to say you're wrong, I'm right, because you know what, I am a creative and I'm very well aware of how we all have individual takes on things, and our life is our life, and we have to make the choices that we do. But it is absolutely proven scientifically that if you meditate, if you chant, they've done it by putting they put kind of pick up feeder things on your brain and look at what happens when you chant or when you meditate, and your brainwave patterns change. And the longer you meditate or chant for, so whether in terms of an hour a day or 5 minutes a day for 20 years, the quicker you can change your brainwave patterns. And when I started chanting, I chant Nam-myoho Renge Kyo. I'm an SGI Buddhist, and I do it because it really helps me kind of keep my spirits high. But this is not for you. If you want to read about it, then there's a fabulous book called Buddha in the Mirror and Buddha in the Rearview Mirror, I particularly like. And in fact, Tina Turner, who started chanting and then left Ike Turner, managed to have the strength to overcome. She also chants, and in fact, if you go and see the Tina Turner show, the musical that's on the West End, she starts and ends both the first half and the second half with chanting, because but that's our way, and I appreciate that you might have a different way. Some people do TM, but some people use the Headspace. You can get some free exercise on Headspace, the app, which is great. They've even got some stressful ones for free. But it's absolutely proven that it changes your brainwave patterns. And I wanted to know why I felt so good after I started chanting. I was like, this is just really weird how things are just being easy to tackle with. So there was a book called Your Blissful Brain, and it basically compared lots of different kinds of mind-bending drugs, including things from LSD to ayahuasca to, well, everything really, all the way to various spiritual practices, including whirling dervishes. And whirling dervishes is one of the exercises I put into the first week, in episode 1 of this 20 exercise series. And the things you get from taking mind-bending drugs, which are things like feeling a more of a community with you and the world around you. So it's like less you and them, but when you're in that kind of a club and everyone's dancing to awesome music, that feeling also comes from changing your brainwaves, and there's lots of other real benefits for it. Stress levels, your heart rate slows down, you're more resilient to this. There's a part of your brain that strengthens, which is to do, I believe, with memory and decision making as well, from taking time out. So I'm sure lots of you have tried meditating. You can mix and match, but do 10 minutes a day of whatever yours is, and actually stick to it. First thing in the morning is very good, or last thing at night if you can't sleep, listen to that Headspace app. There's some really good ones on it. Get a spiritual practice in that makes sense to you. There's an amazing artist that I know, Liz Rankin. I did a podcast interview with her many years ago when I did my first one. She is an incredible choreographer. She's an associate artist at the Royal Shakespeare Company. Her first painting basically ended up in the National Portrait Gallery. And she has a ritual before she starts mixing her own paints, where she goes for a run and she chants, then she meditates while she's mixing the paints. It's a whole thing to get her in the zone. We all have our own way. But even if you're not creating like that, I implore you actually to put some spiritual peace and space. And if that is praying to a god, or if that is looking to an open eye to a candle, it all helps. Really, it does. Okay, so there we are. Now, number 15, the last of my 5 yet more ways. There's another 5 to come in next week. You're going to love this. Not possibly. If you are really stuck and you're getting really depressed and finding mental health a real challenge at the moment, then something that can hugely help you, along with, of course, connection and asking for help, and please do that if you're getting really desperate. Get some help. You are more loved than you'll ever know, and I know life is hard, but please go out there and get some help. We have the Samaritans in the UK, and there's lots of other mental health places. Your life is incredibly valuable, so apart from getting help, professional or just asking friends and family, and also, obviously, exercise massively helps in terms of uplift. But the other thing is, my prescription of an exercise is give up alcohol and mind-bending drugs for a month. It will absolutely help. It will help your mood swings, because even if you, I've got friends who like to smoke weed a lot, and I've equally had friends who've taken lots of drugs and been completely fine, and equally I've got friends who sadly have lost their lives to it. So I understand we all have a very different relationship, and we all, whether it's, genetics, karma, however it is, and also the situation we're in it, when people are doing stuff like that is different. But clarity, not dealing with come downs or hangovers, standing in your life clear and sober, makes you look at where you've got issues, makes you start fighting for what you need to. Back to my number 11, tackle one hard thing at a time. It's really easy to drink your way through or smoke your way through difficulty. I get it. A few years ago, a partner of mine was diagnosed with cancer. It was a very difficult situation. And one of my ways is I just went kind of after it all kind of had resolved in a certain way. Then I I end up going clubbing like 6 nights a week. I mean, luckily I'm very happy, and I'm a happy drunk, and luckily it doesn't, for me, it's not a problem. But I was definitely socialising so much that I wasn't really doing the work I needed to. I had an entourage going to every club in town, and a very good friend of mine opened the coolest club in London at the time, and I was freaking there 6 nights a week. And it was awesome, and actually I don't have any regrets, but I could have done more work during that period, not going to lie. But if you're particularly struggling, then honestly, my prescription is give up alcohol and all mind-bending drugs, with the exception of coffee. For me anyway. And it will help just for a month and get yourself through it, because it will really just ground you, and you'll just have more clarity, and you'll be happier. I've got nothing wrong. As I said, there's nothing wrong. I mean, every year I go to Cannes Film Festival, apart from obviously this, because you can go ahead. And it is 2-week full-on rapture. It's yachts, dancing on yachts. It's drinking excess champagne. It's having 6 parties to go in the next 2 hours. And it's excess, and I love it, and the stories. And it's something that I probably am going to be doing as long as they let me in. I'm like 80 and like shaking my singing psyche stick at them. Can't wait. But it's like they say in the film Footloose. And there's a time to dance, but there's also time to do your work. And actually being sober and facing your life can really be a turnaround, because then you can see where you're messing up and you're not, where you really have to take action. Because unfortunately, I know I've done it before, we've all done it, not tackling something that's really serious. You're choosing to not do something, and therefore it'll expand its way out without you being able to put your own force and energy in. Anyway, so there we are. So my closing words for this episode is there'll be another 5 yet more exercises next week. If you want to book me for work as an actor, please contact my agent. You can find me if you want to book me a singing psychic show, or DJ Singing Psychic, the game show. I miss the Singing Psychic game show, or my Queen show on sexual politics, or even talking about all this kind of stuff I do. I've done a TEDx as well. Then I'm at the Singing Psychic, or at Marisha T on Twitter, and Facebook and Instagram, all the good stuff. So I have actually created a toolkit. So all of the 20 exercises in one place, with some more detailed questions to ask yourself on each one. So if you would like to have that, I'd like to say sexy PDF, but I'm not sure a PDF can be sexy. But if you would indeed like a copy of that, and I'm going to let it be available for free, certainly for the next 2 months, then either email me at info@loveyourcreativity.com, or equally, if you go to my loveyourcreativity.com website, which I've got, there's a pop-up on there, and if you want to put your details in the pop-up, so just go to loveyourcreativity.com and pop your details in the pop-up, and you'll get it sent through. Any issues, just tweet me or Facebook me and say, I haven't got it. So otherwise just email me at info@loveyourcreativity.com with the word toolkit in the top, and I will then get that sent over to you via email. So have a great week, and I'll probably see you back next week with the last 5 of my 20 exercises to end overwhelm and find your joy again as a creative. Bye.
Driving with the roof down, sitting in cafes with my girlfriends, forget New York, Paris and Rome. I even love London in the rain. Shopping at Portobello, dining in restaurants on Dean Street, watching beautiful boys strut their